After hours of gameplay, my Scar is finally gold. I have every attachment unlocked, and I'm here to do part 2 of my Scar review. Before this video starts, I would just like to do my annual, if you enjoy my content, subscribe, use the links down below to help out my channel, and what is the next weapon you want me to talk about with Modern Warfare? Is it an SMG? Is it an AR? I'll do part 1, 2, and I'll even do 3 parts on one gun as I'm learning it, because I really enjoy talking about guns, especially in a game where the guns actually feel different from each other, and it's interesting to use them and customize them. So go ahead, what's the next weapon you want me to use? And thank you guys for your support, and if you want to provide some more support, that's always greatly appreciated. Let's get right into this. First off, what is the best weapon setup for the Scar, and how can you make it useful in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day play sessions? How can you make the Scar worth your time? Now, I see some people saying you can use the Scar as a DMR and, land nice 2-shot kill headshots or 3-shot body shots at a, pretty fair distance, and you can put it on a sniper scope and long barrel, and you can do all that. I fully and fundamentally disagree with this. There are so many better options. It hurts. I think the Odin is better. I think the M4 with its SOCOM rounds, the EBR-14, the Dragunov, the Kar-98, there's so many better long-range precision weapons in the game. You don't need to be taking the Scar and turning it into one. Now, I love the fact that you can, as a fun thing to do. And I see some other people saying that you need to turn it into an SMG. Use the CQC barrel, use the collapsed stock, use stippled grip, use things that help hipfire, and use it like that. For long-range combat and close-range combat, you can manipulate just about any gun in this game to do better in either or. The question is, should you have to, and do you really want to? You can make this a relatively low recoil DMR that could be fun for tap firing somebody at a distance. But it's not going to one-shot headshot like the MK14 or the lever action or the Kar-98. It's not going to double tap people like the Odin. It's not going to stand up against an AX50 user or an HDR user. And really what you're looking at is a worse M4 with SOCOM rounds, because you can convert the M4 into a damn decent DMR, even though it only has 10 rounds. And while you could play with the gun in this format, I just don't recommend it. It's not competitive. You're not going to be able to compete with many different types of players. Now, maybe you could balance it out a little bit and spec it for both accuracy and range and speed and, aim down sight time and all that. But again, you're Frankensteining the weapon into a role that it can't really do that well. Again, fun as novelty, but not worth your time. And now you want to convert it into an SMG, let's just say. And now it's got a CQC barrel and a collapsed stock and 30 rounds and stippled grip tape and Merc foregrip for hipfire accuracy and recoil control. And this is more versatile. It's not as specialty as turning it into a full-on DMR, but okay, fair enough. This could potentially work for you. But if you couple the fact that its rate of fire is low, its recoil is high, and it requires you, in order to be competitive against multiple people, requires you to run at the very least a 25 round mag, but preferably you'd be running the 30 round mag, it's not really a viable option, and the best thing you can do for the Scar is Frankenstein it into the role it's supposed to fill. Now, as an assault rifle, it's supposed to be more versatile, but at the same time, the Scar definitely favors long range. This was the problem I stated in my first part, is that it feels like it's geared towards long range, but its rate of fire makes hitting long range targets difficult, in my opinion, and then you don't have the ammo to compensate for that. Distant combat needs more ammo, and moving combat, hitting people while they're moving, requires a faster rate of fire. And if you challenge people at long range, you're going to be burning through so much ammo, especially again if the person is juking you left and right. You're not going to be able to land every shot accurately. Your margin for error is a lot smaller with a lower rate of fire weapon. Guns like the Odin make up for this with really high damage the Scar just doesn't have. Now here's a versatile build you can do. I would use the bipod foregrip, a compensator, or a muzzle brake depending on your preference. Use the collapsible stock for that extra speed, and use a hybrid sight. Now, the reason I say hybrid sight is that when you're in close range, just use the low zoom optic, but when you need to fight in long range, because of that bipod, you can crouch or prone, switch to the longer zoom, and take more accurate shots at somebody. Just make sure, if you're doing this in core mode, that you have a 30 round mag. Weapons like the Kilo, the M4, and the M13 can have 60 round magazines, and they're more accurate. And they're better in close range. And that alone makes this gun really hard to recommend, and the fact that it requires so much babying in order to get it to work properly sucks as well. And you can run it very basically, with a stippled grip, a foregrip, a suppressor, a 30 round mag, something kind of basic like that. And you can do that, but you'll start to notice the weapon's shortcomings really quickly. Against moving targets, distant targets, people in close range, people at really long range. It's really a good mid-range assault rifle if you're locking down either a narrow corridor, where there's not too much to account for in terms of movement, or of course you're counter-sniping. If you're mounting the gun and counter-sniping, yeah, it can work that way, but I just don't recommend this. And ideally, my SCAR build would have a compensator, the bipod foregrip, 30 round mags, stippled grip, and fully loaded, a nice optic, and the collapsed stock. But of course, that is more than 5 attachments, and that's where I start getting frustrated. Every time I don't use a certain attachment slot, I am nerfing the gun somewhere else. I'm taking away its accuracy, its speed, or its ammo capacity, and those are the things it needs to succeed. And it sucks saying, oh, it's a good hardcore gun, because every gun in hardcore is a good hardcore gun. I mean, yeah, there's some exceptions throughout Call of Duty's history, but for the most part, every weapon is easier to use in hardcore. Hardcore is an easier game mode, like it or not. I'm talking about core mode here. I'm talking about having to take down people that have 100 health, that will be at varying ranges and moving at various speeds. And the weapon, though fun to use at times, is not competitive at most of the variables in this game. It's not easy for me to hit head glitchers with it because of its recoil. It's not easy for me to fight in close range because of the rate of fire. It's not easy for me to do long range because of its long range damage. And it's one of those guns where as I'm using it, I feel like I could be using something else and doing it better. I feel like in close range, I'd rather have an AK. At long range, I'd rather have an Odin or an EBR-14. If I want something versatile that'll carry me through a lot of different engagements, then I'd want an M4, an M13, a Kilo, an MP5. Guns that, out of the box, in my opinion, work way better and don't require half as much grinding. That's a big problem with the SCAR. You have to wait until you're level 61, 62 to get 30 rounds. You have to level up this gun 60 times to get 30 round mags. This is the same game that lets you get 50 rounds on the Kilo so fast. You can get massive magazines for the Kilo, M4, and M13 right off the bat. One of the first unlocks for the AK, as far as I remember, at least within 20 levels, is a 40 round magazine, which allows you to spray and put down more sustained fire and compensate for when you're missing against moving targets. I felt like I was forced into hardcore if I wanted to be competitive with this weapon, because in hardcore, unless you're shooting through cover, you're going to one-shot everybody. And that's how I leveled up the weapon. And once I have everything unlocked and every camo challenge completed, I still feel like I'm behind in some category whenever I'm using the weapon. And in order for them to make the SCAR more viable, here's what I think the weapon needs. Each magazine needs to be bumped up. So instead of 20, 25, 30, it should be 30, 35, 40. This would make the gun more competitive right off the bat. Even just completely naked, suddenly the gun doesn't have one of its most massive handicaps glaring in the face of whoever's using it. Then I would keep damage and everything exactly where it is, but I would just lessen the recoil by just a little bit. Make the gun shake less, make it feel a little bit steadier when you're firing it, just by default. Whether by 10% or 7%, something, just to make the gun feel a little bit more pinpoint. I'm okay with it being a slower assault rifle, I'm okay with it being a clunkier weapon, but make up for that lack of speed with better accuracy and then give it a competitive ammo count. If these changes happen, if any change happens to the SCAR, I think I'll make a video on it, because this is a weapon that, despite my problems with it, I really want it to be good. I want something that isn't the Odin and isn't the AK when it comes to a slower firing, high damage assault rifle. The AK made me feel rewarded, and that's what I said in my part 1. The AK made me feel rewarded, the SCAR made me feel frustrated. Now that I have all the attachments on it and I've played with it, I still just feel like it's outclassed by so many other weapons, and you can Frankenstein it however you want, have your fun with it, but there are better options. If you're using it like an SMG, there are better options for that, even in the AR category. And if you want to use it like a DMR, you're again just kind of forcing it into a role it has no business being in. This is not a competitive weapon in this game. You have such a small margin for error because of the rate of fire and ammo count and recoil, and it just needs to be brought more in line with other weapons. If you guys want to let me know your favorite Scar setups and loadouts again in the comment section, go for it. Tell me if I missed anything. Get mad at me if I'm just completely slandering the gun because I don't know how to use it. But in my opinion, it's not even a good camping weapon. Some people that I was playing with, some of my friends said, oh, it might just be a better slow-paced weapon, but it just doesn't feel good for that either. And I just feel like I'm constantly short on bullets or accuracy or speed at any given time, and I'm done rambling. I'm a little irritated about this. See you when I see you guys. Let me know what you think down below. Good night. Goodbye. See you later. Love you. Bye. Yeah.